Hello, friend. Chuck Bennett here. Common sense and common decency tell me that we have troubles ahead. America is at a dangerous crossroad, but I have faith in our better angels. Welcome to Letters from an American Optimist. Today's letter is dated November 21st, 2024. After the 2016 election, people like me spent a lot of time trying to figure out why good-hearted, smart people, our own family and friends, why would they vote for Donald Trump? We tried looking at the world from their point of view. We listened to their best arguments. We gave them every benefit of the doubt. Many of these people were the salt of the earth, people we loved and admired. We wanted to think the very best of them. Some of us have struggled for 8 years to figure this out. Trump's re-election is setting into motion a crisis that is threatening our democracy. The time for hand-wringing and searching for excuses for other people's bad decisions is over. This letter is addressed to Christians who voted for Trump in the recent election. If you listen to this and believe I am criticizing Christianity or Jesus or God, you should listen again. If you find this letter insulting, understand this. I am not intending to insult you personally, but I am holding your feet to the fire. Dear Christians who voted for Trump, first, I am nobody. I have no special expertise, certainly no power or position, no authority. I have the same human frailties as you. I have no doubt that many of you are better people than I and have done more to make the world a better place. I also have no doubt in the sincerity of your faith. In fact, if you are not sincere, whatever your beliefs are, I wish you would just go find another podcast. If you choose to continue, please know this. It is going to sting. I am about to challenge you in a way that your pastors have failed to. If my words seem harsh, you should understand that these are the same words that are in the minds of some of the people who are close to you. I, and people like me, Christians and non-Christians, have been astonished, in fact deeply disappointed in your support of Donald Trump. Some of us, your friends, and even members of your own family have turned away from the faith because of your embrace of that man. In their eyes, you have confirmed all the negative stereotypes of Christians as hypocrites who freely pick and choose the Bible verses and the facts that support their predetermined conclusion. By the way, you do not get to absolve yourself by claiming that you may not like the man, but I do like his policies, or that the alternative to Trump was worse. Donald Trump and the threat he poses is unique in American history. He is a man covered with tar. He debases everything he touches and everything that touches him. You cannot support him and come away clean. If this letter were a sermon, I would tell you that the text is Matthew 7. As you know, Matthew 7 is the last chapter on Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. In Sunday school and in history class, we learn many stories about a people losing their way. Think of the Israelites who grew impatient when Moses was on top of the mountain speaking with God. By the time he came back down, they were worshiping golden idols. Think of the Germans in the 1920s and 30s. Among the most educated and cultured societies in Europe. Within a decade, they went from democracy to savagery. We wonder, how could they ever have been so misguided? Were they naive, foolish, wicked? We never imagined that it could be us. We, the people around us, our friends, our family, were too smart, too good. Those stories aren't about us. They're about those other people. Here's the thing. Nobody thinks that they are the other people. Many Christians have lost their way, and they cannot see it. They only hear the people, family, friends, and preachers who are telling them how right they are. They rely on a few hand-picked Bible verses and the familiar refrains of belief as though they are a shield from facts and truth. No one in a position of trust is holding them to account to ask them to tap the brakes and critically examine their own assumptions. This is the soft, slippery slope that has always led people and nations astray. I'm asking you to tap the brake. I think of those verses in Matthew about good trees and corrupt trees, good fruit and bad fruit. I think a lot of Christians think of those 3 new Supreme Court justices and the Dobbs decision as a shiny golden apple. They like that apple and think it is good fruit, and therefore it must have come from a good tree. Matthew 7:17. Am I right? After all, David wasn't perfect. That deal with Uriah was pretty awful, but God can use any vessel, right? We all agree that Trump is not perfect, but that is a shiny golden apple. Therefore, Trump must be good. But what if this is all just trickery? Isn't the Bible full of stories where good, God-fearing people were deceived? Think about the Dobbs decision. This has been sold to us as a triumph of God's will. What tangible good has it produced? Have there been fewer abortions? Maybe in your state, but overall, across the nation, the number of abortions has increased. Are we a more godly nation because of those 3 justices and the Dobbs decision? Or have they instead metastasized the anger and the conflict? Are we any closer to being a nation where abortions aren't needed or wanted? Maybe that apple isn't as golden and shiny as you think it is. Some Christians are upset over LGBTQ+'s place in our society, especially trans people. I go to Fox News every single day, and I can tell you there has been a steady drumbeat of trans-related stories and pictures for 4 years. At times, these stories appear almost daily. Almost without exception, the picture and the headline are meant to ridicule the trans person and elicit fear and loathing from the reader. For weeks before the election, we saw the same Trump campaign ads over and over again, expressing disgust over trans people and Harris's support for gender-affirming care for federal prisoners. I'm asking you to think of your own lived experience. Have you actually known a person who is openly trans? Maybe not. Likely that's because those folks know they are a pariah in your part of the world. Think back to high school. Who got picked on the most? Trans people either moved or they suffered in silence. I know 3 people who are openly trans. None of them are flamboyant drag queens. They are just human beings doing their best to be happy in the one life they have. Who are we to judge them? That is a conversation between them and their maker. In the meantime, we live in a country that says all of us are entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Why shouldn't they be allowed happiness? Why should an American expect someone to stay hidden out of sight just because they are different? On a personal note, every time I saw one of those ads saying Kamala is for they, them, Trump is for us, I felt a stab of pain in my heart. I know enough of history to understand that demonizing a group that is already a pariah in order to gain power never leads to something good. Is this the apple that convinces you Trump is a good tree? So, if the Dobbs decision and loathing trans are the fruit, if this is your evidence that Trump is a good tree, well, let's think about that tree. I hear many Christians acknowledge that Trump is flawed, but they cite King David as evidence that God can use any vessel to accomplish his aims. We know that David was not perfect. He committed adultery with Bathsheba, and when he learned that she was pregnant, David sent her husband into battle so that he could be killed. That was pretty horrible. But we are told that David acknowledged his sin and sought forgiveness. David had redeeming features. He was brave, he was faithful, and humble before God. He wrote nice poems. So tell me, What redeeming features do you see in Donald Trump? Do you see anything Christ-like or David-like in him? Humility, grace, compassion, truth, forgiveness, self-sacrifice, repentance, love of God? Or do you see the exact opposite? How about simple honesty? In every speech, Trump lies dozens of times. Over the biggest issues and inconsequential trivia, he lies to your face. These are not shades of gray or mere political spin, the ordinary lies that we expect from politicians. These are outrageous and provable lies. Please hear this. These are provably lies if you care to examine them. He lies so seamlessly, so often, and so consistently that people are inoculated. They either believe everything he says, or they shrug their shoulders and see it all as a part of the show. So, does he inspire Christian qualities in others? Look at the people around him, for goodness sake. Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Rudy Giuliani, Elon Musk, Robert Kennedy Jr., Stephen Miller. They remind me of villains from Batman, some of them from the Adam West version of Batman, some from the Christian Bale version. Well then, has he inspired Christian qualities in us? Ever since he came down that golden escalator, he has gathered followers who idolize him. He has made insults, lies, threats, and loose thinking not just acceptable, but the norm. We are at each other's throats. To be fair, is Trump the source of all this? No. But he tapped into this vein of anger and resentment and built his campaign on it. I hear Christians say, well, Trump may be bad, but Kamala is worse. Then they complain about Democrats, liberals, progressives, fascists, socialists, communists, and they usually lump them all together, proving that they don't really understand what any of those words mean. This is going to sting, as truth often does. But what you know about Kamala Harris, what you know about Joe Biden, what you know about trans people or Ukraine or tariffs or immigration is what Trump wants you to know. Your house is built on a foundation of sand supplied by Fox News and social media. In one part of your brain, you know that Trump is a liar. And with the other part of your brain, you accept his version of the world. At the end of the day, there is this. What is the point of being a Christian? According to your faith, what is your overriding purpose in this life aside from your own salvation? That purpose beside which everything pales in comparison. Is it really turning away immigrants, tariffs, changing abortion laws, tax breaks, making sure trans people stay hidden away? Here's the point. Do you know of anyone who has turned away from their faith because their loved ones embraced Trump? If not, maybe it's because it was a silent turning. I have seen it, and I have talked to and read many Christians who say the same. Let's ask the same question in reverse. Has your embrace of Trump been a light to the world? If you are not a light to the world, what are you? Why are you? Donald Trump is a poisonous tree, and what you think are shiny golden fruit are merely baubles. If you have read this far, bless you. That was a lot. As harsh as this may have seemed, I hope you read it in the spirit intended. I didn't write this in condemnation of you. That's not my place, and I have enough logs in my own eye. I am not asking you to abandon faith. I want you to be Christians still. I write this hoping you will re-examine what is essential to your faith. Use your common sense and common decency. Seek out and acknowledge plain facts and simple arguments. Rebuild your narrative of the world on a foundation of stone. The pigsty already has enough pearls in it. Please don't throw in more. Respectfully, Chuck Bennett. One thing that occurred to me as I was reading this letter, I mentioned the Trump commercial that complained about Harris supporting gender-affirming surgery for federal prisoners. Would you like proof that this was nothing more than a cynical way to gin up fear and loathing against trans people? He spent over $70 million on those commercials. And do you know how many federal prisoners actually had that surgery while Biden was president? 2. Oh, and the rules allowing those surgeries? They were on the books when Trump was president the first time, and he did nothing to change them. I have plenty more letters to write. I think the next one will be to Rush Limbaugh, or maybe John Adams. I'm also thinking of writing one to Lurleen Wallace. She was George Wallace's wife. If you don't remember George Wallace, we'll have a review. Whoever is next, I hope you will be back. And if you want to like this or subscribe, that'd be great. Even better, tell a friend. We need all the help we can get.